Hello, and welcome to this course for drivers licensed in the state of Wisconsin on right-of-way and failure to yield. I'm Rob Robison, and I'll be your instructor. Any person who's been convicted of a failure to yield violation or certain other right-of-way violations is required to successfully complete what the state calls a failure to yield the right-of-way course, also known as a FYR course. The course is designed to refamiliarize you with the vehicle right-of-way rules. The state also hopes the course will increase your awareness that as a motorist, it's your responsibility to keep motorcyclists, pedestrians, and bicyclists safe. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation lists 4 topics that have to be covered in this course. They are the right-of-way statutes, how right-of-way conflicts are resolved, a Share the Road supplement that the DOT created for the Wisconsin Driver's Handbook, and special right-of-way circumstances, such as for emergency vehicles. Let's take care of some business before we get to the class. If a violation doesn't involve a crash with any physical injuries, a failure to yield conviction doesn't include an immediate suspension of driving privileges. But you only have 6 months after conviction to complete a state-approved FYR course like this one. If you fail to successfully complete the course and provide your certificate of completion to the DMV before 6 months passes, your operating privileges will be suspended for a period of time up to 5 years, and you can't get it reinstated until you take one of these classes. But if bodily harm occurred from your right-of-way violation, an immediate suspension may occur. Before December 2017, any physical injury caused by a failure to yield the right-of-way meant an immediate 2-month driver's license suspension. As of December 2017, that provision was repealed. Instead, as of 2018, only a serious physical injury resulting from failure to yield means an immediate 3 months license suspension following a conviction. For a fatality resulting from failure to yield, the immediate suspension upon conviction is 9 months. But any suspension that follows conviction isn't automatically ended once it's completed. The driver must successfully complete an FYR course like this one and provide their certificate of completion to the DMV before the suspension can be lifted. Wisconsin requires FYR courses to be at least 2 hours long. We've divided those 2 hours into 4 lessons, each about a half hour long, and each followed by a question based on the lesson. That helps the state of Wisconsin verify that you're paying attention. We find that it's also an effective tool because it gives you a chance to use what you've learned right away. If you want to take a break, do so after the questions. The break can be for as few minutes or a few days, but I think it's better to finish the class in a single day, so your knowledge is fresh for the 15-question quiz that ends the class. The final quiz questions are a bit more challenging than the ones after each lesson. You need to answer 80% of these questions, that is 12 of the 15 questions correctly, to complete the class. If you don't pass on the first try, you get a chance to review the class and try again with a different set of questions. You must retake the class if you fail your second attempt to get 12 answers right and earn your certificate of completion. All of you are here to get that certificate, but there's a better reason to take the class. Those of you who are old enough to have seen the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show may remember what American roads were like before the seatbelt laws, when over 50,000 people a year died on America's highways. Despite big population increases, along with the average miles of American drives nearly doubling since then, there aren't 150,000 traffic deaths a year. Instead, by 2010, traffic fatalities were down to about 32,000 a year. While that's still too many, saving well over 100,000 lives a year is spectacular. There are also far fewer injuries and billions saved in medical costs. So how did this happen? The biggest drops in traffic deaths came in the 20 years after 1970, when the seatbelt laws took effect here in Wisconsin and around the U.S. But by the 1990s, the gains in traffic safety stalled. The Wisconsin legislature realized that if we were going to bring injuries and deaths from vehicle crashes down even more, it had to be by changing driver behavior. Let me explain. An Indiana University study in 1979 determined that 2 to 3% of vehicle crashes happen due to mechanical problems. Another 4 to 5% are due to road conditions. And the remaining 93% happen because of drivers' actions or inactions. What that means is a large number of those crashes could have been avoided or made less severe if the driver had simply known what to do. With that in mind, Wisconsin started requiring driver education for a variety of citations in the 1990s. The hope was that giving drivers information and training would change how we drive. And as it turned out, it worked. The gains in traffic safety that had stalled by about 1990 picked up again, with fewer crashes, injuries, and deaths, similar to the traffic safety gains brought by the seatbelt laws. By the way, you may have noticed that I use the term vehicle crashes and not car accidents. An accident suggests that it was no one's fault. But is that really true? Remember, Indiana University's study found that about 1 in 15 crashes were from mechanical error or road conditions. The rest, 14 out of 15, were due to human error. Incidentally, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration did their own study in 2008, and it not only confirmed Indiana University's, but found a slightly higher percentage of crashes due to human error. So let's be honest, they're not car accidents. They're crashes. The one traffic law most commonly violated that leads to a crash is failure to yield the right-of-way. And the worst, most devastating crashes happen at intersections, when a motor vehicle crashes into someone walking, on a bike, in a wheelchair, or riding a moped, scooter, or motorcycle, who has no real protection. Since that's the case, you can see why the state of Wisconsin singled out failure to yield violations for special attention, automatic suspensions, and FYR classes. And I think that if this class prevents even a single crash of a motor vehicle into a pedestrian, bicyclist, or school kid, that's a better reason for taking this class, and taking it seriously, than just the certificate. Let's begin then by looking at the 8 laws the Wisconsin DOT wants us to cover.